realness.
All right, Fatty, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Theo, you there?
I'm here. Introducing authentic realness.
Hello, and hello again. When we are back, yet another episode of our 50 Bonus podcast. And tonight, I am in an interesting place. As we were preparing for tonight's episode, I had an epiphany moment of how the topic for tonight is going to be one that's really near and dear to me. And it directly aligns with my current space. It's going to be interesting for you all to kind of hear this detail in relation to Aaron R. Plush, consultant and independent contractor, my current journey where I am, and how I'm navigating this consulting world. Theo, it's good to have you back, brother. What's going on your end?
Greetings and salutations, brother. Everything is good on my end. A lot of work. Limited play the last few weeks, almost months, it seems like, but I'm back rocking and rolling, and I'm excited to get into the conversation with you tonight.
Greetings and salutations. Look at you. That must mean you must be rested or something. You came back fancy.
Well, you know it's the loop in me.
Oh, is that what it is? Fair enough. Say less. Say less, brother. Say less. It makes me feel like I can be like I am on my international calls. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon for all of the listeners that's all around the world. Hello to everybody. All right, brother. Well, let's jump right in. Tonight's episode, everyone, one where we're going to talk about I am in the phase of my consulting life journey where God is funny. And he has literally himself, I don't know if any of you have had this experience, and I've been called to the carpet by other folks. And for those people who don't understand what that means, being called to the carpet is really one of those moments where you literally are in a situation where it's put up or shut up. One of those situations where, you talk a good game, you say you're capable and able and all those amazing and wonderful things. Oh, okay. Well, come on out to this carpet and let's see. Well, that's where I'm in my consulting career. From a vantage point where projects that I'm working on right now are extending me from a vantage point of everything that I've learned in my entire professional career is being pulled upon to navigate and operate in the space that I'm currently in. And I'm laughing because it's so indicative of how God works in my life. From a vantage point where he's allowed the journey that's been occurring in my life throughout my professional career. But if I specifically take a look at the past couple of years, it all makes sense. Whereas I've talked about my career, even in interviews, one of the things that I consistently talk about is the fact that my career has been one of building blocks. Because if you look at my LinkedIn profile, I'm not going to bore you all, but if you look at the trajectory of someone who has an educational background in both an information systems and a business administration background that is merged and married into the information systems overarching concept that's balanced out from a lowest common denominator perspective on the business acumen side as well. So you marry those two, information systems, business, And then you have who I am from an educational background perspective. But then you look at the journey of going from working as a systems operator at the Hollis Percentage campaign as the actual co-op internship that I had to have for my undergrad degree. That leading into a small, how funny is this, information technology consulting firm, which led to a primary healthcare association where I went in as an information systems specialist and left as the information systems director. That then journeyed on to the staffing world, the consulting world, contingent labor world, over to entrepreneurial world, over to my university, over to chief of staff. And if you think about that, it's like, okay, let's make this make sense. Like, how does this all work? And literally, there were building blocks that each one of my professional career moves were predicated upon the previous one. Well, where I am now is God is being funny. He's like, look, just go ahead and just take it all and use everything that you've learned in your entire professional career for where you are at this phase of life. What a beautiful and amazing story that is. And certainly in other circles and other discussions, I'll take it a little deeper. But where I want to go for tonight is that whole concept of God himself calling us to the carpet is that I'm really being challenged right now from a vantage point where I have had to open my entire toolbox. I've had to look at my entire toolkit. I've had to look at my entire toolbox in order to navigate currently. And rather than looking at that as a negative, I'm definitely looking at it as a positive. I'm looking at it from the vantage point where, God, you're amazing. Because I understand that there's nothing overly special about me and that my entire journey, past, present, and future, is ordained by God. But think about how amazing and wonderful it is for me to be able to say in very certain terms that the items that I do from an operations perspective, from a project management perspective, from a staff perspective, from a voiceover perspective, from this podcast perspective, from a supplier diversity perspective, from a contingent labor perspective, from a management consulting perspective. Look at me. Wow, I know all 8 items myself without even having to look at anything. God, you're amazing. But in looking at those 8 things and having the background and the experience to do all of them and to do them all well, it's very interesting to have to pull on a whole 8 of those things all day, every day, right now. Why am I sharing this with you? Because I'm certain that there's someone else who's going to be listening to this, either is in the same space, has already been here, or someone who's in early career and trying to understand, like, how does my degree relate to my current job, my future. And this is a episode of encouragement. This is an episode to say in very certain terms, do what you got to do. Just do it. And know that it will pay off eventually. I'm in the payoff phase. Because I can tell you on very certain terms, there are jobs that I've had that I hated. There are things that I did, and I laugh at my dad all the time. Because one of the things that he did is what he thought. So right out of high school, how funny is this? The great and amazing Aaron Plush worked at a plant, American Koyo to be exact. Parts sorter. And the entire summer between high school and going into my freshman year of college, I worked there, working 12-hour shifts, working in, and when I say plant, I'm talking a manufacturing plant that was making bearings. And my job was sorter, and literally one of my aunts would always laugh about me. Go to this plant, like there was just this big fog, like you couldn't even really see people. So it was real deal, like stuff was being produced. But my dad just knew that I was not going to work that job the entire summer. Well, lo and behold, because of who I am, no one is ever going to tell me what I can't do. And certainly, not only did I do that job for that summer, but I thrived at it. Now, I hated it. Let's be very clear on that topic. Because with the bearings, there's oil. With oil, that's getting in your clothes. With oil, that's getting on you. And for those of you who don't need, no. Solid, no. But did it? And I also recognize that that journey, even that early, very young, very impressionable, is a part of the foundation of who I am today. That role led to the roles of working throughout college, of being a resident advisor, to being that individual who did the work study jobs, to being that person who, even in high school, before this particular role, worked at a bank, did a co-op in high school. And I'm sharing all of these things to tell you all that on your journey, trust the process. Know that those jobs that you might be in that you don't love waking up to do, that they too serve a purpose, so that they will provide an opportunity that when you get to the point in your career where I wake up every morning very much so excited about the work that I'm doing. I wake up every morning knowing that I know what I'm doing. I wake up every morning knowing that I will be a solid contributor to the work at hand. And most importantly, when I look across all the projects that I'm working on right now, it's fulfilling work. It's work that is not just impacting me, but it's impacting many other lives. And I thank God for that. Theo, what are your thoughts on this sharing that I'm giving right now in relation to building this crystal clear painting of how every component of my professional work life leading up to now is allowing me to be successful in the work that I'm doing today?
It's very profound because, a lot of times it's so easy to get focused on the destination and not enjoy the journey.
Absolutely.
But the thing about it is,
Absolutely.
when you just take a step back and you really embrace each part of the journey, when you get to the destination or you begin to walk through the doors of the destination, you'll see how each piece had its purpose to get you to where you were. And those pieces throughout the journey, those gems that you collected on your journey are going to be gems that you're going to need on your everyday walk once you get to your destination. So it's very, very, what I want to look for. It's you really have to be mindful as you go through your journey to not get so frustrated and be like, none of this stuff is purposeful, because it all ties into your purpose, whether you see it now or whether you'll see it later. Because I'm pretty sure, in your day-to-day now, you'll look back like you was talking about when you was in Orangeburg working, or even when you was at Carolina, there's moments where you can look back and you be like, boom, I learned a lesson in that, or I remember this, or I got this, gained this gem here, and you're applying it now. You may not apply it tomorrow. It may be 10, 15 years from now, but because you've done your thinking back and you've embraced your journey, it's easier to walk in your purpose now. So it's definitely profound. I'm grateful that you shared that story, and it's making me look at myself like right now, like what happened in those moments where. But the funny thing about God is, if you don't learn that lesson in that situation, it's gonna come back eventually in another form. So that's the great thing about it. But like, even in this moment, it's just making me think back, what lessons I've learned along the way that I apply. 'Cause, a lot of times, even in your profession, it may be something that's totally obsolete to what you're doing day to day, but the lesson and the message still stands. It can be applied to what you're doing. So I can go for days on that, but it's very great topic and very thought provoking if you really take the time and just step back and just think about your journey.
So many things that you've said brother, because I definitely tell you that one of the things I've found is that it's all about being mindful. I love the selection of that word because oftentimes it is that the things are applicable immediately, that there is something that you can learn today that could be very much so needed for tomorrow. You just have to be mindful. You have to be present to be able to understand that that is a potential reality. And certainly there are those times that it's going to be many years later before things make sense to you when it comes to your professional corporate life. And there may very well be some things that don't ever necessarily make it to, hey, I don't necessarily know where this fits. But know that it's a puzzle piece. Know that every puzzle piece doesn't have to be defining. It could be the sustaining one.
That's it.
Too often, we're looking for the things that are defining. Some things aren't going to be defining. There are going to be those items that are just there, and if they were not there, you wouldn't be who you are. One of the things that I tell people all the time is you got to remember, if there's any life experience, if there's anything that has happened in your past, and you quote unquote had the ability to go back to change it, you would no longer be you. When I had that epiphany moment, it really helped me to be able to embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly. In that, though, when you talk, about things having to come back to you, so I was at one of the cute date weddings last week. So last week, 3/20/3/23 was considered one of the most popular wedding days of the year, and of course, it's because of the three. And it was a Thursday. Really good friend of mine, former work colleague, couple that I actually have really come to love. Like, they both are just such amazing people. So my male former coworker, his now new wife, just love hanging out with both of them. Just great people. But one of the things that his father-in-law now said at the reception, and he made it applicable for their marriage, was that he said, it's all about the journey. So you think about, here you are talking about the journey in relation to your corporate professional life, which gave me that prompter to go right back to last week on the Thursday night reception, where this gentleman says, hey, as you all are making this decision before God to become one as a couple, know in your marriage, not in your wedding, but in your marriage, because that's the important part, folks. When folks didn't get that part and spend all his money and time and energy into the wedding and no time on the marriage, he said it was all about the journey. So I'm definitely going to use that as a pivotal component of this particular session to say to all of us in very certain terms, understand, folks, it's about the journey. Understand how a lot of times the destination could be empty. I'll tell you all, the first moment of destination emptiness that I had was graduation from high school. And this is the first time of my life that I recall being in a moment where I felt like I was hit like a Mack truck. Because for you to know me, high school for me was absolutely amazing. Like, every day of me being at the Orangeburg Wilkinson High School was absolutely amazing. Every day. Made the best of it. Had some of the best friends in the world. Had some of the best experiences going to E-Club and Kiwanis Club meetings. And just being that guy that connected with the superintendent and just was just invested in high school. But I also remember being so excited about graduating and leaving and moving on to the next journey. And I remember vividly having my cap and gown on right after the ceremony. And I just had this overwhelming feeling of emptiness. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening here? And the next day, I realized what it was. It's like, clown, fool, idiot. You spent all this time loving this phase of life. Do you not realize that at this moment, these past 4 years of some of the greatest times of your life, it's over. You will never, ever have the same experiences walking these halls, being with these people, or any of those type things. And I'm like, what now? How does this work now? Now, I'm so excited. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to get to this destination of graduation so I can move on to the next phase. Not recognizing where the beauty was in the journey. Where the beauty was in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that it's at that moment that I began to be more present, to not be so concerned about, oh, what's going to happen tomorrow, and concerning myself with, oh, this is what's happening right now. This is what's going on today. This is what I'm enjoying right now. So the charges of tonight include to understand in very certain terms that this journey and process of life is meaningful, holistically. But you can also break that down to your professional corporate life. You can break that down to your marriage. You can break that down to whatever facets of your life that you like. But understand that oftentimes the beauty is in the journey and in the process. The other thing that stands out for me tonight in this episode is just understanding that as you're going through your professional career, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the roles that you don't necessarily understand why you're in them, know that they have purpose. Embrace them. Change the narrative if you have to. Because ultimately, in the big scheme of things, it's ultimately going to benefit you and everyone around you. And life has definitely taught me this whole concept of being spectacular as always. Certainly for those that don't know, the reason why I am spectacular as always is because of who God is. It has nothing to do with the fact that I don't have quote unquote bad days. It has nothing to do with the fact that there are not extreme and radical things that happen in my life as well. But it has everything to do with the fact that because I trust God and I know for certain how wonderful and amazing He is, I have no choice but to be spectacular as always. So the spectacular as always has nothing to do with situation, circumstance, process, journey, and it has everything to do with God. That then translates itself to you can't get me bent out of shape at work or any other face in my life. Why? Because it always goes back to God. With that, any closing thoughts, Theo, from you as it relates to this episode that has truly had a focus on journey and the process of our corporate professional lives and how that entire journey relates to where you are currently, what you're doing currently, and how you can make it all make sense.
Just to piggyback off what's already been stated is embrace the journey. The journey is the building blocks to the house and the overall landscape of what you will build and what you will look at in the future. So look at your purpose as your house, but look at your journey as your foundation. Without your foundation, everything else will crumble. So everything that you learn on your journey is going to take you to where you want to be, and it's going to help you sustain where you want to be if you embrace it. So great conversation. And I feel like we're going to be building upon this even more in the future, but great conversation and great gem put out there.
Absolutely, brother. And I can tell you, I just thank God for this platform. There's certainly, in having this platform or this particular podcast, it provides me the opportunity to be able to have these type of conversations. I tell people all the time that one of the things that I truly don't want this to ever be is an interview. It is my goal and desire for this always to be a conversation. And allowing that conversation to be one that's meaningful, that other people are just listening in, like it's a group of friends just talking, and others have the ability to listen in, and they're able to find and see themselves in the conversation. And then ultimately, we want there to be something that you can embrace, something that will encourage you, something that provides a level of hope, something that motivates you. Hope, encouragement, motivation. And when I talk about the podcast, I just love the fact that Buzzsprout, which is the platform that I have selected for my particular podcast, it provides an opportunity for me to upload there, and then it broadcasts out to all the other platforms that I'm on. That's just an absolutely phenomenal component for me. And certainly it just provides an opportunity where there are more and more listeners that are beginning to listen. It was exciting videos I shared with the team that I had the first PR firm to reach out to me like, hey, I'd like to have this particular come onto your podcast. So certainly we're growing, we're developing, we're moving. I'm excited about my good brother who has made a contribution to this particular podcast because he recognized that this stuff isn't free, that it does take finances to make this happen. So Walt, I thank you again, brother, for your contribution, and certainly others of you. When you go to Buzzsprout, it definitely has support the podcast at the bottom. By all means, support us there. And it would be greatly appreciated in advance. And then with that, we're going to end tonight's episode in the way that we always do. Let's look to the Lord. Heavenly Father God, we come before you right now just thanking you, God, for who you are. God, we thank you for such a meaningful episode tonight. This particular episode, God, that has provided an opportunity for us to share about the journey of our corporate and professional lives, and to really give a level of understanding to folks, regardless of where they are in their professional career, be it early career, mid-career, late career. This is an applicable discussion for all parties. And for that, God, we say thank you. God, we know this type of wisdom is wisdom that only comes from you. And we just thank you, God, that every episode, every week in, week out, you just give us that meaningful topic and dialogue that impacts so many lives. God, I just ask that as there's so many horrible things continue to happen in the world, that you would continue to cover and protect us. God, that you would allow us to be light in this dark world. God, that you would allow us the ability, as we're doing right now in this prayer, to be able to give people the boldness to acknowledge you in all settings. God, we would just ask that you continue to be with all of the persons who've ever been on this podcast. We've had such amazing people that have contributed to the success where we are. And I definitely don't ever want to be in a place where I don't lift them up before you. And God, allow them to know that I am beyond grateful and thankful to them for being a part of this journey, for them continuing to listen, and for them to really provide the amazing feedback that allows us to continuously get better. God, I'd ask that you just continue to cover Theo and his family and all of the needs that they have as a family. God, continue to be with Fabby, who's away on tonight, and she certainly will be back soon. And then, God, I just ask that you be with me and my family as well. So, God, we love you, we adore you, we magnify you, we glorify you. And it's in the name of your Son, Jesus, that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, brother. And to our listeners, in our usual fashion, the greatest part of this Authentic Illness podcast is each and every one of you. And I cannot stress enough how grateful I am for you. And I say from the depths of my being, thank you to every one of you. And until next time, let us all be spectacular.
Realness.